I did get to see the Kashmir Files. That's the movie that I've seen lately, and I found it very like great actors.
For all film-related interviews, reviews, and content, please like and subscribe to Puja Talwar. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram.
Lovely to see you. Did you anticipate that you were such a rage here in India?
No, it's it was a great surprise. Obviously I got a lot of feedbacks via social media. Talking about Fauda. Yeah. Even another series called Mossad 101 that was on Netflix, The Angel, all these projects that were exposed. But, I got this kind of notion, but getting it firsthand from people here, it's so exciting, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to discover, that we can reach people through the screen. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. And what I should have said first is welcome to our country. So what has it been like so far?
It's been only 3 days, but I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I got to visit a great musical place called the Piano Man, which was amazing. So I guess, you have such a big, beautiful country, and I guess I need at least a year to discover, most of it. But until now, it's mostly a very warm, kind people. So it's amazing.
And also, a lot of people are talking about you collaborating. There's an Indian-Israeli collaboration. Can you shed some light, or is it just rumors flying?
It's kind of, I would say, first of all, it is the first collaboration. I hope it's a very interesting project. We do have already like a great, let's say, story. And what I am trying to find out this trip is to hopefully maybe find potential partners to be working with on this project, and I'm looking forward, for it. It's going to be very interesting.
Sure, I'm looking for. Can you shed some light? What can we anticipate? A lot of people ask me, is Fauda shooting in India? So I was like, oh, let me ask him. I don't know, but you never know.
I don't think Fauda is shooting in India. I think the filming of Fauda has already ended, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the plot, and I don't really know when it's coming out. A lot of people ask me when it's coming out. Our project would probably be a movie. And I'm gonna keep you all kind of, with a big question mark. Let's see how it rolls,
Looking forward to that. And are you familiar with, I know you're familiar with Indian music. Are you familiar with the movies? Have you watched anybody on your wish list?
First of all, for me also, since I've been acting only for the past 9 years, so these past 9 years was kind of discovering also Israeli television cinema. But I did get the chance of getting to know, first of all, the story of Ruby, of Soluchnia, the first Bollywood actress that was actually Jewish, which is a very interesting story. And I think it's very interesting for me also to try and, maybe develop something out of her story and bring it to the big screen. I think it's a great, with, even to do with this great relationship that we have between India and Israel. I did get to see the Kashmir Files. That's the movie that I've seen lately, and I found it very like great actors. And slowly, I'm gonna. You have a big industry. I think it will take me a long time to understand it and to get to know it. But I'm looking forward.
And coming back to the series, because you do realize, despite the fact that it's in Hebrew and Arabic, it found resonance with people across the world. And
Yes.
also that subtitles, I mean, everybody jumped that barrier and was hooked onto it. What do you feel? I'm sure the stories are the same everywhere of we're all fighting for land, water, air, and it's basically a human story. That's what struck about Fauda was because it showed the human aspect. Nobody was wrong or right. They were human beings. What do you, as an actor, when you came on board, what struck you when you said, yes, I know they asked you if you could speak Arabic and that's how you got the role, but what was it about when they came to you with the story that made you say yes instantly?
First of all, with Fauda, I had a big. I started acting with a movie called Betlechem. That was the point where people asked me if I speak Arabic, and this is how I was exposed to acting. 2 years after Betlechem came out, I know the creator of Fauda, Avi Sakhaw. We were friends, and he told me about this project. And honestly, at the beginning, I didn't know if I wanted to be part of that series because it was kind of, what you've seen in Fauda is what I've done in my military service. So, and I was still doing my reserves. But then at a certain point, it was written really good. And I said, come on, Tsahi, I mean, you're an actor now. So, go and do it. And like you said, I mean, I found it very similar to the movie Bethlehem on that part of, talking about humanity, talking about relationships, talking about human beings. And eventually, it doesn't matter what the background is. It could be a conflict in Israel, it could be a conflict in India, it could be a conflict somewhere else. The minute it deals with human beings, the minute it exposes the audience to see the human aspect of any conflict that exists around the world, of ultimately understanding that what we normally see on news, on television, is very black and white, but life is very colorful. It has, so many colors. And I think in that matter of Fauda, did show those different colors. And I think in a way, this is what makes people attached to it, and not, thank God it became, such a great hit in India. But I could tell you that's around the world, wherever I go, it's the same feedbacks and people relate to it. So, I think, generally speaking, I think our purpose, I would say, in acting is to trying to make the audience feel attached to the characters. This is your goal. It's interesting because one of the last projects I did in Israel, I had to portray a rapist, and I realized that I always look for challenging roles, and I realized that what was mostly challenging with this role is the fact that I knew that no one could relate to my character. And that was the toughest thing. And, it turned out great. It was a great experience. It was very, very challenging. But I think, generally speaking, even like in a way, we see a lot of series in movies that we could relate to the villains. We always have this. And I think, the fact that we've achieved this in Fauda, that people get attached to the characters. It's like people always tell me, why did you mess with Doron's wife? Or why didn't you go out? It's like me, Taki, I did. It's the character, it's the role. But I understand that the people really related to it. So we did our job rightly. So
I totally agree. There was another aspect of your character. He was extremely human. He was extremely a humane character to connect with. But you also, I mean, what was interesting were Israelis, Palestinians in the show. What was the reaction to the series in Israel amongst the Arab Israeli community? Did they like the show?
Wow, the show exploded in Israel because, I think it also for Israelis, it gave, these different colors that we're talking about, because we don't see it often on television or in the news, especially. So it was a great surprise to them, first of all, to get to see the humanity within this conflict. I think, obviously discovering this kind of unit, these characters that do these jobs. I mean, like I mentioned, I knew it firsthand because I was kind of living the reality that I lived as a soldier in the IDF. But to the main public, people don't really know what's happening and how it's done. And also, I would say that also, I mean, the Arab community within Israel, or even, the Palestinians, whether it's from Gaza or the West Bank, or uh, they all watched Fauda, and they all, I would say, in a way, appreciated, especially the first season. And I think that through art, through entertainment, you have on one hand the aspect of entertaining people, and on the other hand, since I've been involved in projects that, take reality in a sense, whether it's through the movie Bethlehem or Fauda, or other projects, um, I would say that it's a great channel and opportunity to make people think. I don't know if if it changes their minds, but it could make them think, and maybe make them understand that what they think they know, they don't really know. And maybe it's a great way to make people want to overcome these gaps and want to take the leap, go over the bridge and try to get a wider picture, a wider understanding of what's really happening, instead of just throwing out slogans. And it's very easy, to pick a side. I always say that being pessimistic is much more easy than being an optimistic. Uh, it's much more challenging.
Absolutely. And also the fact that we live in times of cancel culture, polarization. And if your ideology does not agree with that of the majority, you're cancelled. So I think we need shows like this to do, I don't know how far will shows like this help, but as an artist, what do you feel? And do you also choose projects that are in sync with your ideology and what you think?
Um, I normally aim and choose projects, and I look forward in things that I feel that challenge me. Like I said, betraying a rapist is not something, it's not my ideology. Uh, um, so first of all, my approach to projects is obviously taking challenging roles, but I am attached to projects that deal with this, especially the conflict that we're living in. I'm actually producing a movie now that takes. I'm not going to tell you much. Sorry, forgive me, but it is a movie. It doesn't have to do with what we spoke about. The collaboration between India and Israel. It's a movie that I'm producing, and I hope to film this year. So I am attracted to these issues because, again, I believe that through this, from my experience, I could try at least to make people think, to make people maybe take a step and, come and really try to understand through people, through connecting to people, through talking to people. I give many examples for that. As an artist, I portrayed the role of Gaddafi, the leader of Libya back in the 70s, in a movie called The Angel, which is on Netflix also. And we filmed in Morocco. And I had the dialect coach working with me on the Arabic, on the accent. And she was a woman from Beirut, from Lebanon.
Wow.
And as I don't know if you know, but we don't have any relationship with Lebanon. I never traveled to Lebanon. It was such a great opportunity to meet her, and just two artists, human beings sitting in Morocco. She tells me about life in Beirut. I tell her about life in Israel. We get to understand that what we think is happening on the other side might be totally different than what we think. So I am, in a sense, attracted to these kinds of issues and projects, but I'm also attracted to many just entertaining. I had the privilege of doing some comedies, which I love. I think generally speaking, if we could laugh more, if we could take ourselves less serious sometimes, maybe things will be better.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes people take themselves too seriously, and they forget that, we need to enjoy life, and laugh as much as we can. So I'm attracted to all these.
And I would say you and your wife are the symbol of that unity that everybody wants to see.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Such a pleasure speaking to you. And lastly, before I go, I want to ask you, what was it like shooting in each other's country? Then, having chosen to go to, say, Europe or somewhere else to shoot. What was that like? Were you all like a little tense? Any on the set moments that you want to tell us about? Any anecdote?
In Fauda?
In Fauda.
Oh, no. But Fauda, the 2 seasons that I filmed of Fauda were filmed in Israel. Mostly in an Arab Israeli village called Kfar Qasim. But wow, we had a lot of experiences. But one I think one experience that could, in a way, reflect how in a sense we're privileged to be artists and not deal with politics. In a sense, is the first season was filmed while we were experiencing tense times in Israel. And we could find ourselves during the filming, suddenly you hear sirens and missiles are falling. And we would all go into shelters, and we'll be Arab actors, Muslims, Jews together in a shelter. And, this is for me like kind of this image, when missiles falls, they don't choose whether it's a Jew or a Muslim, they fall. So we should always strive to to think of what kind of future we want to live to our, for our children. And that was, a kind of a very special moment, because, we realized that in a way we're fortunate to be artists and to be creating something together. And we put politics aside. We put aside prejudice thoughts that we might have, and we just create together. And another thing that I honestly believe, and I try also to implement and live it, is if we would approach each other, first of all, with respect, if whenever I have a chance to speak to someone, let's say from the other side, yes. First of all, it's important for me to show him and to make him understand that I see him. I think we need, first of all, to see each other.
Absolutely.
To understand that we all have our history, our pains, our aches, our loves, our fears. Let's start from a mutual point. Unfortunately, I think we're experiencing, generally speaking, internationally, that people stop seeing each other. The minute you think otherwise, the minute you come from a different religion or country, then I don't see you. That's a problem. We can never establish a relationship if we don't first of all see each other. Then we can argue about everything, but with respect.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And that's something that I think human beings need to realize. We need to see the other, and from religion, politics, it also reflects in our intercommunications and intra-communications as well. But that's such a valid point. But such a pleasure speaking to you, and hoping to see you more often. Yeah, I absolutely love your country. Visited it once. Hope to be back there again. Thank
Amazing.
You.
We're looking forward. Thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
If you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.